Hello and welcome to X-Play.
Star Wars has gone through plenty of rough patches over the decades, like the holiday special.
Anakin and Padme flirting in a field of flowers.
That time that George Lucas added Vader screaming "No!" to the Return of the Jedi when he kills the Emperor.
Kylo Ren's really high pants.
Battlefront 2.
All of Rise of Skywalker.
You get the idea. What is definitely not part of the Star Wars list of shame is Jedi Fallen Order. Fallen Order restored hope to the galaxy of modern Star Wars games and may even have saved the idea of narrative games at EA entirely.
I guess spoiler warning for our review. Here it is.
In recent years, there's been a growing shift in the single-player narrative-driven games that defined earlier console generations, and no studio has defined that shift more than EA. Every saga has a first step, and Jedi Fallen Order, Respawn Entertainment's first foray into the Star Wars universe, may have very well saved the future of narrative-driven games at EA. Star Wars has a long storied history when it comes to gaming. For nearly 4 decades, gamers have been using their controllers to voyage to a galaxy far, far away. From the platforming highs of Super Star Wars, the hit or miss thrills of Shadows of the Empire, and the certified bangers like Knights of the Old Republic and Republic Commando, Star Wars games are truly a genre unto themselves. With the advent of the prequel trilogy, it seemed like there was a non-stop deluge of Star Wars games. Though with no movies to release around, the games slowed to a trickle before eventually just stopping. Of course, that wouldn't last for long after Disney bought the franchise and got the movie machine up and running again. Hope had been restored.
Until we found out EA got the exclusive rights to make Star Wars games. 2015's Battlefront was fine. It was a multiplayer shooter for people who don't play multiplayer shooters. It did a little damage for the people just desperate to play in the Star Wars universe, but a lack of content and unchallenging gameplay meant no one was playing after the Force Awakens hype died. Fast forward to 2017 and we get Battlefront 2. This was supposed to be the shit. It was bigger maps, the new Starfighter mode, more heroes. It was the Battlefront that we all wanted, but EA had to up and EA it. The original vision for Battlefront 2 was stuffed to the gills with microtransactions. The level which this game was gonna nickel and dime you was almost a game unto itself. While Battlefront 2 was a frustrating game that morphed into a pretty great game over time, the initial stench was never quite cleansed away.
Between 2 lackluster Battlefront games and the cancellation of Visceral Games' single-player Star Wars game, it was a dark time for the franchise. All eyes were on Respawn's Jedi Fallen Order to restore balance to the digital force. So, did Jedi Fallen Order bring peace, justice, and security to a new era of Star Wars games?
Or did it cut off our metaphorical limbs and leave us to die on a volcano planet? I'm the Black Okage.
I'm Adam Sessler, and this is the X-Play review of Jedi Fallen Order. Jedi Fallen Order was a bit of a question mark when it was originally announced. Developer Respawn was mostly known for his work on the Titanfall series. While Titanfall 2 had an excellent campaign, they weren't exactly known for single-player melee-based combat. Playing the game, you wouldn't know this was their first at bat with this style of gameplay. Jedi Fallen Order is built around a surprisingly effective mix of Metroidvania-style exploration and a Souls-like approach to combat. Like bacon sprinkled on a maple donut, it's an unlikely combo that feels absolutely amazing in your mouth.
Word?
You got a better analogy?
It's like putting Final Fantasy characters in a Disney. Damn it, Joe, I would never say this. What I will say is the gameplay is dope. I would have never thought traversal would have been a highlight of the Star Wars games, but simply exploring the various worlds in Fallen Order was a blast. As Adam mentioned, the game has this Metroidvania structure, meaning the more abilities and gear you unlock, the more incentive you have to backtrack to previous levels to access previously gated areas and inaccessible crates.
While the Metroidvania style can be dreadful when implemented poorly, Jedi Fallen Order's approach is generally a joy. I wanted to go back and explore the new areas and unlockables. How else was I supposed to make sure Cal's Poncho game was on point?
Fallen Order's combat is easily recognizable to anybody who's played a Soulsborne game before. Although it doesn't reinvent the wheel, it does have one thing that separates it from the pack: its accessibility. It wouldn't be far off to call Fallen Order baby's first Souls game, and I don't mean that as an insult. Fallen Order is a great introduction to the gameplay loop at the heart of the Soulsborne games. Combat is built around perfect timing, from timing your blocks, dodge rolls, and attacks, and the better you get at reading your enemy, the more exciting the combat feels. Now, just because this is a more accessible version of the Souls combat doesn't mean this is a walk in the park. Some of the sub-bosses you encounter in this world can be a bitch to fight. Not to mention the actual boss fights in this game are gonna test your wits. Just like in Dark Souls, when the boss kills you, you lose your XP. You have to return to that boss and you have to slay them to get your XP back.
Fallen Order also has light RPG elements, as your XP gives you skill points used to unlock various buffs, as well as lightsaber and force techniques. Leveling up is really cool in this game, because it truly feels like your journey from a Padawan to a Jedi Knight. The moment combining saber techniques and force abilities all clicks together is enough to elicit a hello there from even the most seasoned Souls-like player.
The performances in this game are great across the board. Cameron Monaghan is great as Cal Kestis, making him a protagonist that you can easily get behind. Gaming MVP Deborah Wilson kills it as Saray, going through an emotional journey that damn near steals the whole show. And also, I gotta give props to Elizabeth Grujon for killing it as Trilla, the second sister. She's equally villainous and heartbreaking. You never like her, as she's always trying to kill you, but late game revelations certainly make you understand her motives.
Visually, Jedi Fallen Order is gorgeous to look at. While some of the facial animations can be a bit wonky, everything else is simply stunning. The game presents a variety of locales across the Star Wars universe, some new, some familiar, and all of them look great. From the Starfighter junkyard of Bracca to the lush jungles of Kashyyyk, Fallen Order is a looker at every turn. Despite being 2 years old, the game definitely shines on next-gen consoles, which is great considering that we're 2 years into this console generation and the exclusives library has been a slow burn. I'm sorry, it's not my fault that I don't want to play Returnal again. Sorry, everyone. Oh, man. It's been a pretty rough week. All right, what are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about Returnal.
Now at this point, you might be wondering why we haven't mentioned the story, and to be honest, that's because it's probably one of the weakest aspects of Jedi Fallen Order. The game takes place between episodes 3 and 4 and places you in the shoes of Cal Kestis, played by the kid from Shameless who became the Joker. At the start of the game, he's a former Padawan who's currently slumming it on a literal trash planet to hide from the Empire. After using the Force to save a friend, the Empire pulls up and tells Cal to cut that shit out.
No!
From there, Cal finds himself hunted by a pair of Sith Inquisitors as he joins former Jedi Knight Saray and pilot Grease and the adorable droid BD-1 on a search for an ancient artifact that could restore the Jedi Order.
Now, the story isn't terrible. In fact, the game does an excellent job of making you instantly care about the characters involved. Cal Kestis is an engaging protagonist throughout the game, and the more you learn about his circumstances, the more you begin to empathize with his plight. The same could be said of Sari, who is one of the more complex characters in the game. Also, yes, BD-1 is cute as and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. Even the Sith Inquisitors are given a compelling backstory that also engenders, well, if not sympathy, then understanding about the path they chose. In terms of fleshing out the interpersonal relationships and conflicts, the game knocks it out of the park. If there's one thing the story does really well, it's reinforcing the Jedi concept that the choices of one shapes the futures of all. You get to see how Anakin's turn to the dark side has upended the lives of so many across the galaxy. It's the stakes that drive the narrative that ultimately fall flat.
Even if you have just a bit of Star Wars knowledge, you know the Jedi Order is not restored until Darth Vader pulls up to yeet the Emperor off the bridge, and then Luke Skywalker pulls up and hits the wall with some Ewoks. Off jump, you knew that Cal was either going to fail, die, or something in between when the game tells you that your whole mission is to restore the Jedi Order. It made it hard to get invested knowing that success was never really an option.
While the outcome you reach isn't bad, it does ultimately feel like much ado about nothing. You go on a wild goose chase across the galaxy, only to more or less end up right where you started. But hey, at least you get a double-sided lightsaber out of it.
Additionally, there's a late game difficulty spike. Now, I'm not mad at a game being hard. Me personally, I love a good challenge. The problem is the game goes from being Souls light to the real damn thing in some of the final boss fights with no warning. And I can hear a lot of y'all already saying that you can change the difficulty whenever you want. But hear me out. Do I look like a bitch? No, that's the correct answer. I thugged it out, but it was still a struggle to get to that end. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Overall, though, Jedi Fallen Order does so much right that it's easy to look past the few flaws it has. The combat is stellar and easily stands alongside Jedi Knight Academy as having some of the best lightsaber gameplay. Getting a perfect parry and a slow-mo finisher feels so damn good every time you do it.
From beating stormtrooper asses to wall running across various planets, Jedi Fallen Order is a consistently fun game. Not to mention, the thing is gorgeous. While the core stakes are a little hard to get behind, the emotional core of Fallen Order's story is still strong and it keeps you invested in the characters, to the point where as soon as the credits roll, you're gonna want to see where everyone goes from there.
As we said at the start of the review, there have been countless Star Wars games over the last 40 years. While some have been trash and some have been just fine, there's a special level a Star Wars game reaches when it goes beyond just being a good Star Wars game to being a great game, full stop.
In a pantheon that includes games like Knights of the Old Republic and Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Fallen Order easily takes its place among those greats as a Star Wars experience that you have to play to believe.
And that's why we're giving Jedi Fallen Order 4 holocrons out of 5.
Now, before you jump into our Discord and tell us how this review ruined your childhood, just know this conversation isn't over.
After the break, Hokage and Sessler keep it going with a verbal lightsaber battle worthy of a Sith Lord throne room.
We mostly agree Fallen Order is awesome.
Hey, this is cable television. If you don't create drama, the audience will get bored during the prescription drug ads and start watching a repeat of a courtroom reality TV show.
I cut Sessler's hand off after the break.
That's much better.
I'm going to show you an item that I bought online, and whoever guesses closest wins points.
I want that welding hat.
If I could see this on one of you guys.
Let's get our next product in
There
here.
goes its head. It's going live to G4 TV.
So you guys played Elden Ring yet?
No, it intimidates me, but I actually have been finishing up the Tenrai event in Halo.
Sounds like an STD.
Horizon Forbidden West, but I hate Zoe and Varl now.
That also sounds like an STD.
Definitely STD.
I feel like there's way too many games right now. Like, I actually feel overwhelmed with all of the choices.
Hey guys, I need your lunch orders ASAP. Here's some options. Let me know what you choose.
This is easy.
Yeah, I choose meat.
Salad.
Smoothie.
Okay, hold up, guys. Where's your protein? How are you gonna stay full all day? It's the clear best option.
You have a salad because it's light and it sits in your belly nice. If I'm full of protein, guess what? That means protein-filled poops, and no one wants a protein-filled poop.
I want that!
A smoothie is the closest thing to a mimosa.
No.
What?
You need a helper.
We need to have a talk.
Smoothie, 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 smoothie,
So,
smoothie.
did we make a decision?
Smoothie.
Did we decide on it?
Steak beats salad, salad beats smoothie, but smoothie beats meat. Beats meat?
We need you on set in 5 minutes.
Are you ready for smarter conversation?
If I looked like you, if I was you, I'd be constantly porking.
Elevate your media intake with Vibe Check.
Prius drives like how old people screw.
A research discourse
Hot dog's not a sandwich.
that celebrates intellectual profundity.
Can someone give me the birds and the bees talk?
Rage against the dying of the light-brave philosophers.
I dare you to cut to commercial. I dare you.
Vibe Check. It's deep.
First thing I'm gonna get you to do, sort the negative attitude out. You're a strong man, okay? You're strong. Turn the frown upside down. Rowan, we're gonna die! We're gonna die, Rowan! Good luck, adventurer!
Welcome back to X-Play.
So you're gonna cut off Sessler's hand in the next segment?
I may have oversold things, but you never know. Check it out.
Now, while Fallen Order is the latest Star Wars game to be released, it is far from the last, as there are many more Star Wars games on the horizon, including Star Wars Eclipse and a remake of Knights of the Old Republic. Joining me to discuss both those games, as well as Fallen Order, is my co-reviewer, the Black Hokage. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm feeling great. I'm happy to join you.
This was a fun one to get to revisit, just because I forgot how much I enjoyed it. It felt like the most Star Wars game I ever played. There was something about the combat and the lightsaber combat that just was so appealing.
between this and The Mandalorian, this is what actually turned me more into a Star Wars fan than some of like the films, especially like the recent trilogy. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We were actually having a conversation off stream or off recording before about how like between this and Ghost of Tsushima, these are like the first games that really kind of got that sword combat right. And I sat there and thought, I was like, yeah, he's right. Like, there have been games where like there are characters with swords in them, but did they get the physics of it right? The way that this game flowed, it felt great, to the point where like I've started to have discussion with my friends about is it time that we talk about Respawn, even though it's still a fairly new company. It's been like 10 years since they formed and left Infinity Ward. Are they in my Mount Rushmore between this, Apex, the 2 Titanfall games, as well as they made the original Modern Warfares, if we want to count those Infinity Ward games or whatever. Like, I'm looking at it, and then this Star Wars, I'm like, yo, Respawn they are killing it, man.
No, I mean, it's when I heard that they were going to do Star Wars, and they brought on Stig Asmussen, who is probably best known for being the game director for God of War 3, which I think of the early God of War games definitely has the best combat. Like, that's where I was like, I think we're finally going to get that Star Wars game. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like it fulfills what I've always wanted a Star Wars game to be, which is a mixture of like lightsaber combat, that feels cool, and that sense of discovery and wonder. Like you got, or at least I remember feeling when I was a kid seeing the first Star Wars movie, and you see the cantina scene, or you see like, some crazy vista with banthas, roaming all around. Like it did that Star Wars thing where I think a lot of other games other than KOTOR, I think failed to live up to that.
Yeah, I think especially with the hero that they introduced, it felt like a much more personable story. There was some of that spectacle there with the second sister hunting you down, as well as like the other Jedis, but like it felt like you were playing a kid discovering himself, growing up before your eyes, and kind of recanting his memories so that he can take that knowledge and go to the next level and try to become a proper Jedi without having that proper schooling, because they were all dead at this point. So like just being able to explore those worlds and seeing him grow as a person, I think that's what I liked about it more. It humanized the story versus some of the recent movies. It was just kind of a space spectacle.
Yeah, where like a lot of the characters just seem to be a fill in the blank, because you need to have the funny one, you need to have the not funny one, and you need to have the stupid one. Look, I think the other thing that's so notable about this game is this is the game that reconvinced Electronic Arts to do single player games. It was that successful. It was that surprising. So I think, even though it hasn't been announced, there's going to be a sequel. What is, like, I don't know. Do I just want more? Do I want something, special, or something that's more space combat? And how do you follow up on Fallen Order?
So, there is going to be a sequel. The way the game ended, I don't want to spoil it for nobody who's playing. There's definitely going to be one. I think my biggest question is how are they going to tie this into like the greater Star Wars universe? Because at the end of the day, we know the majority of the Jedi died, and it was just Luke left over in these new films. So it's like, where does this new hero fall into place? How are they going to tie that all together? I think they did it wonderfully with Starkiller, even though they said that's no longer canon anymore. So I'm trying to wrap my brain around more so of what they're going to do with the narrative, because in my opinion, it's either going to be really good or there's potential to piss off a lot of Star Wars fans here. But from a game,
how? They're such an understanding group of people. Star Wars fans.
But as far as like the gameplay, actually, I would love to see like some space combat. I mean, especially because at the end of the game, he's like already in a ship. So, I mean, it would be nice to introduce that. Maybe instead of transitioning from one planet to another just with cutscenes, you would actually kind of have to fly through to the next planet, kind of like in Kingdom Hearts, but actually make it fun.
Okay, that's a ship in space made out of Duplos.
they could borrow some, because one game that was kind of underrated was that Star Wars Squadron game. I don't know if you played that. Yes. It lacked on the content, but I think the mechanics were there. So if they could implement some of that into transitioning into the next planet, as well as maybe go even grander in terms of the exploration, just if they do that, make sure you fill the world with things to do, because I don't like when games are large and it's just large for no reason.
Right. No. And I think that was one of the other really nice touches about Fallen Order, is that, you had that straight narrative, but you had all those really cool boss fights you could do that had, it wasn't critical path. Like, they made the game accessible, and they're like for those that really want to have the challenge, there was really satisfying, like, you know, sink your teeth into something type combat that you could get involved with. So Star Wars games, we've been discussing those. Okay, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I have this dream that now that we can finally have proper sword combat, can we do an action game set in the Knights of the Old Republic universe? Because you go back 1,000 years ago, everyone's got a lightsaber. Like, there's just, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a Jedi. And I think that, you know, there's always those technical limitations about the collision detection and everything that prevented that from being explored. And I think I'm trying to share with you my fantasy that if it's not a sequel, that maybe we've proven that, like, we can now do 100 v 100 lightsaber battles. Or do you think I'm crazy?
So correct me if I'm wrong, because I never actually got to play those games because I was really young when those games came out. But they were more of like kind of like World of Warcraft, where it was like you would just click and then it was kind of like attacking, sort of like I think Jade Empire a little bit. Was it more like that?
No, I would say it's closer to, it's kind of like a hybrid of what you could expect. Yeah, you're right, from Jade Empire. But a little bit more turn-based in terms of its logic. Like, yeah, you could play it real time. You really had to know what you were doing and stopping down, setting up all of the combat to, you know, like, okay, these are my 5 moves. That was probably the most common way it was played.
Okay. See, because my first time playing is going to be that remaster that's actually coming, because I was like, I do want to go back and play it because I am a huge BioWare fan, and that's the only like game, and I think in their series of games that they made that I haven't played. So I was like, they're coming out with a remaster. So I was like, I might as well just wait. So if they do something to the combat that you just suggested, I wouldn't be mad at it. But like, I can't say I have like some crazy opinion on it because I haven't touched it.
No, it's more, I just want a lot of lightsabers, and now I'm just really jealous that you get to play Knights of the Old Republic for the first time, because like, I'll never get to do that again.
For sure.
So at the end of the day, you kind of hinted that Mandalorian, this game kind of excited your Star Wars muscle, for lack of a better word. I mean, were you a big Star Wars fan, or were you just aware of Star Wars and you put up with a lot of the nonsense around it, and these games were the exceptions?
I would say that I was a big fan of the world that George Lucas created, but I was never a big fan of like the mainline movies. I think more so I love the Clone Wars as well as the Mandalorian, because once again, it kind of humanized and it got a little bit more into detail. I feel like they've crafted this large world, but they spend way too much time on the Sith versus the Jedi, and it's like, we kind of get it. I want to see more, and I think that's what makes me such a big Mass Effect fan. It wasn't just about Shepard's story, but like, by the end of the first game in Mass Effect, you knew everything about every alien race, even like the more obscure ones, like the Batarians. I mean, those dudes were, and it didn't have to be something, you just knew they were assholes, and I loved it. And I feel like they could do a little bit better in terms of the Star Wars universe. And I think we're starting to see that with the Bad Batch as well as Clone Wars and Mandalorian. So like, I want to see more deep dives into what actually is the Star Wars universe outside of the lightsabers.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think finally maybe the people that are working on Star Wars, especially Jon Favreau, you know, they're like, stop trying to be Homer and make the most important epic poem ever made, and instead tell a really fun story. Mm-hmm. And like, it's cool to have aliens and monsters and stuff, and it's finally loosening up, and I think the games are going to benefit as well. Well, okay, I'm just excited. I want to play KOTOR. I want to watch you play KOTOR. We're going to have to wait and do that. But Black Okage, I mean, it's always a pleasure to talk with you, but thank you for this one.
I could talk about Star Wars games this good all day, but we got bills to pay.
And our bills could be paid with the couch money from the Grand Theft Auto franchise.
If GTA 5 made so much money, where's GTA 6?
Find out right after these paid advertisements.
Hey y'all, Scott here. Online personality test. I have no idea who I am. Just think about how different my life would be if I had this as a kid.
Well, I'm done. I'm not going to game stores anymore.
I'm gonna stick to doing what I do best. No manners, no subtlety.
Hi, I'm comedian Nikki Glazer. I'm 37, I'm single, I'm living in my hometown, and I'm a little obsessed with my ex. Ow!
Oh, for God's sake.
I'm fine.
Welcome home, Nikki Glazer. All new Sundays.
only on E!
Titanfall 2 is certainly one of the most slept-on games of the last console generation. Do yourself a favor and pick it up. It's got incredible gameplay, a lot of heart, and it's only 6 hours, so you can beat it in a day.
The FPS campaign has slowly become a dying breed, and if Titanfall 2 stands as one of the genre's last gasps of greatness, then what a hell of a note to go out on.
While the multiplayer isn't as robust as it was at launch, and cheaters and hackers are currently making life hell for the remaining player base, that can't deny the greatness Respawn achieved with this multiplayer gameplay. If you can manage to get into a working multiplayer match these days, please savor it. A great Titanfall match is sadly an unparalleled treat, and considering that Titanfall 3 doesn't seem to be on the horizon, it's an experience you may not get to have much longer.
With a campaign chock full of original gameplay ideas and a multiplayer campaign that can still hold its own 5 years later, Titanfall 2 easily earns a 4 out of 5.
I have a question.
Am I considered a classic?
5 out of 5.
Graphics and what have you.
That's all you do in this game!
Oh.
Welcome back to X-Play. Now, when something doesn't make sense to you, the answer is usually money.
Why do NFTs exist?
Money.
Why is there only a half a bag of cereal in a box of Cheerios?
Money.
And how has it been 9 years since GTA 5, which was a smash hit, and GTA 6 is nowhere in sight?
Do I really have to say it?
Check out our breakdown of why GTA 6 is not only delayed, but may never actually come out.
Prepare to get red-pilled.
GTA 6 seems to be trending on a weekly basis on the old gaming Twitter. Now, some people are just treating it like a meme, but there really are a sizable group of folk who somehow think it really has a chance of coming out. They're wrong. If you look at the release calendar for Grand Theft Auto games, the longest we've waited between games was about 5 years, from GTA 4 to GTA 5. It's now been about 8 years since GTA 5 has come out, so where is GTA 6? So here are the facts. Take-Two Interactive, which is the parent company of Rockstar, recently had their earnings report. They did not mention Grand Theft Auto 6. No big surprise there. But what they also did mention is that Grand Theft Auto 5 is making an astronomical amount of money 8 years after its release. The game came out in 2013, and it sold 145 million copies to date. Red Dead Redemption 2 has already sold 37 million. So, Take-Two and Rockstar, they're kind of absolutely killing it. There's absolutely no imperative for them to rush or even gently saunter their way into releasing a brand new open world game. You can use all the hashtags in the world. You can tell your family, you can tell your friends, you can tell your imaginary friend who keeps assuring you that somehow your opinions are valid and you should be tweeting about it. It's not going to change a thing. Rockstar and Take-Two are not going to jump at your request, especially when there's this insane shortage of next generation consoles. So why does fandom still think that they have the power to decide things for a company? I blame Kingdom Hearts. Well, not really Kingdom Hearts, but Kingdom Hearts 3 is a great example of what I'm talking about. Fans pleaded for Kingdom Hearts 3 for over 10 years. Not sure if it would actually come out or if they're just screaming into the void that is Square Enix's cold, cold heart. But after years of conversations and hashtags, petitions, etc., Square Enix finally made fans' dreams come true in 2019. Boy, was that a mistake. It gave way too much power to a group of people who will never be satisfied to begin with, as if handing out extra Christians to the Roman mob at the Colosseum would calm them down. So hey, keep on tweeting at those companies and propping up all their brands, because if we can do it for Kingdom Hearts 3, we can do anything, right? Maybe if all of you stop riling yourself up about video games, I'll stop talking about you in videos. And on that note, to all of you out there rationalizing that Starfield's coming to the PlayStation 5, I have some extra GameStop shares to sell you. GTA 6 will eventually come out. It will be amazing and massive, and Rockstar will make more money than God as you happily sink hundreds of hours of your life into whatever rich new world they've created. But that won't happen for a while. Sorry to burst your bubble. Look, this is tough love, okay? You can scream, you can cry, you can make things trend to the heavens, but you still can't win them all.
And that's our episode.
X-Play isn't just a TV show clearly cobbled together from YouTube videos. We're also live on Twitch and YouTube every Tuesday.
Follow us there, and you can watch us do whatever we want while a producer panics off camera.
Stay safe out there. May the force be with you.
You can't say that.
Why?
Money.
Oh, that's fair.
Peace.